Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, and I'm back, also on Discord.
This is Aaron. I go by Treffenwood on Discord.
Jeremy, do you know how hard it is for me to remember to go into Discord and change your nickname every time you come up with a new one?
You son of a bitch. Don't try to intimidate me with your lordship of Discord, motherfucker.
Wait, you can do
I
that?
am not afraid.
Wait, do you think I don't have the power to do that?
I didn't know you could do that.
Please
I
don't.
thought the person changed their nickname.
Lord
Cool.
Sire, please don't. Please don't adjust my handle. Please. Hey, why is my name lighting up? You son of a bitch. Oh, I'm back on something.
That was
Change
pretty
me
instant.
back.
Like you clicked that button and it instantly changed. I'm actually really impressed.
Did you read my title on Discord? It's Evil Overlord, not some guy who admins. Like, I do what I want, and people deal with it.
Change it back.
What are the announcements today, Brandon?
Very uncomfortable.
Oh, I haven't gotten announcements yet.
Oh.
Thanks for ruining the entire flow of the podcast.
No, I
Parker.
thought it was actually a really good flow. I felt like this flow needed to drop
You're like, let me
directly.
interrupt Brandon's rant
Let's-
and ask him
No,
when he's going to get to the next segment.
I believe this should go straight down to announcements.
This is pretty smooth.
Is Aaron here
It's-
today?
Professional as fuck.
Aaron
He
introduced
said
himself.
He was here.
Oh,
He
okay.
already introduced himself. Are
Quite
you so
well.
drunk?
I got
Jeremy's so
upset.
drunk he can't remember. You show up. You no call no show last week. Then you show up late this week, drunk and hungover. Like what? We're gonna have to talk about this in your performance.
Welcome back, motherfucker.
All right. So as Parker has dramatically requested announcements, Parker, I guess you're down to 693 remaining episodes of
Ooh,
stuff.
sweet,
That
sweet
sounds
candy.
Probationary episodes. We had Midwest Melee over the weekend. It was pretty fun. We had 13 people show up. It was unfortunately, I think the holiday kind of hindered us more than helped us.
What?
But
No
it was
shit.
pretty fun. I think everybody had a good time. I think our farthest traveling person was from Dayton, Ohio, and we had people from Springfield and someone from Des Moines, and so that was pretty cool. It was a good time. I thought everybody had a good time, except for Richard. Richard did not have a good time.
Richard did not have a good time.
Richard did not have a great time. It's okay though. He had a really good game. All right, well, that's all I had. Are you guys ready? Parker,
Let's do
do
it.
you have something for us?
I got some news.
News. Hey,
Let's
news!
go news!
Yes!
News!
So, a couple different things going on. First off, we got an organized play update with a couple different things. First off, the restricted and banned list got updated. Follow Me is now restricted.
All right,
Oh,
quick show of
Hallelujah.
hands. Who saw this coming?
woohoo!
How soon?
I did. This is sooner than expected.
Okay.
But I was like,
Yeah.
this is obviously going to happen.
I was very surprised. I thought we'd get like what? I mean, how often have they added things to the ban list? It hasn't been 6 months. It's been
No, we just did
3 months, right, since the last one.
They let field dressing go for
The
like
balance
fucking 2
update.
years.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like we've seen cards that we were all sure were overpowered stick in this game. You know, there were whole generations of creatures on this planet who lived and died while those cards still were around. And this one, barely a tsetse fly could die before fucking Follow Me got restricted. Like,
Species of animals had evolved and gone extinct in between field dressing being banned and not banned.
right. And so now Follow Me gets restricted. There's like Ban Hammer. I mean, it's not banned, I guess, but
So
restricted hammer.
I personally think that this was a card they were watching and they expected to be on that list of problem stuff. And as soon as they confirmed it with like basically the TTS League stats, they were like, "Yep, put it on there."
Now, I have a question, and this is actually a big, important question. Is every time there's a good card at the top of the list, will that card get restricted? That seems like a
don't
weird
think
way to do it.
so. I think it's only when that card is very game impacting. And honestly, talking about like what list evolved right after that. Like the Black Order list was like running around, like everyone was playing Follow Me,
Mhm.
and not even just in that. Like Follow Me is in all of the like highly competitive rosters, I would argue.
Right. But it could have been.
And
I guess I'm saying it could have been before that, but like you said, maybe it was on the radar, but it was just not as good as those others, and so we didn't see it. Is that the
It's
point?
also like a gotcha combo card that creates negative play experiences.
Yep. Any card that once played makes your opponent miserable is going to get banned, right? Like that's the key.
Well, not banned, but like limited.
Limited, sure.
Yeah.
And that one makes
Anyway,
people
so
miserable.
I would argue
I'd
there's
be
a lot of things on the
surprised.
restricted list that are not making people miserable. They're just taking a whole lot, and that's
They're
why
just
I
overly
don't.
powerful.
Right, like Brace for Impact does not make me mad.
No.
Indomitable does not
Well,
make me mad.
It kind of does because it kind of invalidates like your cool thing. Like if somebody's like, I play Agents of Smash," you're like, "Brace, idiot," and you're like, like it is disproportionately good for how much it costs you.
What I'm thinking is, you're right. These are very efficient cards, and so people will take them more often. What I'm thinking is, does the restricted list just keeps growing? For example, is the next one fallback? Because as soon as it's not restricted, all of a sudden everybody takes fallback because it's the 7th greatest card in the game for efficiency to deny somebody a second attack. So will fallback be banned or restricted?
Will because it's a defensive card.
But there
But I
are
could see
4
it
defensive.
happening.
There's so many defensive cards on here. Continue.
Right, but it's a defensive reactive card that it just limits bad things from happening. Right,
That
like
you just
it's
described.
not
Brace Go ahead.
It doesn't remove your opponent's ability to do stuff. It just says, I'm limiting the amount of damage that's going to happen.
It absolutely removes your opponent to do stuff. This follow-up attack doesn't happen. The second attack doesn't occur. So
you're saying it's specifically to stop like rapid fire?
Or the second attack, right? You don't have to wait for the opponent to do 2 attacks on you. So after the first attack, you can play fallback and then move back.
Potentially. But a lot of people can still shoot you. Like a lot of people have range attacks.
You know what, Parker? I'm going to agree with you, Parker, honestly. Like, I think whatever is top of the heap will be looked very closely at of how effective it is. I don't think they like cards that are universal that are amazing. I think they like cards that are character-driven that are amazing.
And I'm a little nervous for that because things like TTS League and things like this podcast, we can say things like, this is really outstanding. This is by far the highest value card currently not restricted in the game. And when people say that kind of stuff, they go, okay, and they all just glom on to the players who have their the biggest hands on the button kind of on and the hands on the pulse.
I do think groupthink has way too much power over what gets affected.
Right.
But it's not like this was a knee-jerk reaction. This card's been legal for 1 month shy of 3 years.
Yes, and for some reason, and the only and I would argue the only reason why it's restricted now is because it was played a bunch. It was just played.
Well, I think that's true, but I don't think anyone that plays this game at a remotely competitive level would say it's not one of the most powerful cards still in the game.
Sure. What I'm saying is, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think Escort to Safety is next. After that, Fallback. After that, like it'll just be the restricted list just keeps growing every 3 months. Every time TTS gloms onto a new card.
I do not think that's what's going on.
No,
I think that is a way to look at a pattern that is not necessarily true.
You have to look at things that came out too at the exact same times. Like honestly, Malekith came out and he can get a bucket of power and use Fallback pretty easily. Or I'm sorry, not Fallback, but what you're saying. Follow me. And that's really negative.
So I played Follow Me with Shadowland, and that was just ball breaking, right? I'm gonna steal priority. I'm gonna follow me. You just lost 3 of your characters, turn 2 or 3, whatever it is. So I don't think this is due to Malekith. Like I think the problem was in at the beginning. Like I'm gonna agree with Brandon on this one. I don't think this is a problem going forward. I think there are 2 types of cards that are restricted. 3 types: healing cards, anti-movement cards, and cards that create an obscene attrition advantage. Those are the 3 types of cards that you find in the restricted list. And I don't think mission objective, fallback, escort to safety, mark for death, no matter the cost, qualifies any of those 3 types of cards. And so I do not think we will see them on the list.
Yeah, unless they're going to errata and ban Ghost Spider, I don't think there's any real reason to get rid of escort to safety. Like the mechanic still exists on a very good character.
But you have to take a character, and you have to
right, but it's a much better version of the mechanic, and I think everyone would argue that she's one of the best 3-pointers in the game too. So it's not like it's exactly handicapping you, but it's not exactly a perfect fit in every list either. So that's fair.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm not nervous. I guess no, yeah. What I'm nervous about is a slippery slope scenario where I can expect my favorite card that is strong to be restricted, every time TTS gloms on it. And so I'm just desperately crossing my fingers and toes and hoping, Inspiring Monologue has never played a whole bunch, because then I won't get to play that anymore.
I don't think popularity is the sole reason. I think that they were looking at Follow Me when they did the because they reset the power level of tactics cards with the last balance update, and so they took out all the really high power level stuff and then restricted everything that was left. And I think there was a selection of cards. You could argue that Fallback's on that list, but I think it was like Fallback, Follow Me, stuff like that that's still very game impacting, that they were like, let's leave it off the list right now, but keep an eye on it. And immediately Follow Me exploded everywhere, and they didn't like the level of attrition stuff that you could get done with it.
Okay.
And I think everyone will say that they don't like playing against Follow Me. It completely changes the game state at all times.
And
So
I will.
looking at
Go ahead.
the stats, mission objective was actually taken more than Follow Me. So it's clearly not just a popularity contest.
Okay, there you go. That's good. That makes me happy.
Okay.
And I will
Aaron,
definitely
was that
still
the-
take Follow Me instead of Indomitable or anything like Disarm or anything like that for sure.
Eric, was that the only card more popular than Follow Me that's not restricted?
Yes. The
What were
initial season 8 stats. Like, I don't know how
What are
deep
the
you wanna-
next like 2 or 3 cards? Could you throw
Yeah.
them out there?
Mark for Death, Fall Back, no matter the cost. Those are the top 5 non-restricted cards that are taken. Mission objective at 40%, no matter the cost at 20. So those 5.
What was the percentage difference from Follow Me to Mission Objective?
Mission objective was 40. Follow Me 36. Mark for Death 35. Fall Back and No Matter are both 20.
Okay, so they were pretty neck and neck.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I think this is a good change. I think it was a really powerful mechanic that should be restricted, and I think it was arguably better than several cards that are already on the restricted list. So I like it.
I concur. Okay, want to talk about the other part of the FAQ errata update, Parker?
Yep. We had an errata on Meet My Executioner. So now Meet My Executioner is totally different. Whoa. It replaces the first paragraph with this text. When an allied non-Scourge character would suffer a collision, an allied Enchantress may spend 2 power to play this card. Whoa, ho, ho.
It's like they took Dev Intent and put it into English, as
Yeah.
opposed to whatever the card originally said.
So I can read what it originally said.
No, don't. Fine.
I want to.
Well,
Fine.
okay.
When another allied character would suffer a collision, Enchantress may spend 2. And so I think now it makes perfect sense, because I think this was honestly just a miswording typos kind of situation. I think they meant to say something else and just botched it. They're just like, oops, and then they got errated. Like, that's clearly not what they meant, because it didn't make any sense. Enchantress needs this mechanic more than anybody, and she was the only one that couldn't use it. And meanwhile, Scourge could meet himself in like the fucking gutter. Like, what is happening? It was so weird. Yeah, this is great. I love this change.
Yep, just good to happen. Last thing on the organization page is the affiliation list got updated. So we found out who is in Hydra, in fact, and we also found out who or where some of the Hydra guys are going to fall into other factions. So we'll go with the affiliation order. Cabal did add 2 more. Arnim Zola and Baron Strucker are both also members of Cabal. Then we found out the Hydra's full roster is Baron Strucker, Arnim Zola, Zemo, Bob, Crossbones, Red Skull, Sin, Taskmaster, and Viper. Presumably also their other leader, the Red Skull Master of Hydra guy. He's going to be later, but he's not in the list yet because he's released in October. We also found out S.H.I.E.L.D. is getting exactly what we thought he was getting. However, none of these S.H.I.E.L.D. members are on any other affiliations. So the Steve Rogers is not in Avengers. Neither is Nick Fury.
I was surprised that the 2 Hydra guys were in Cabal.
Really? You thought they were going to be single affiliation releases?
Kind of, because I don't know, like, how many of the Shield members are going to be in, like Avengers?
None of the new ones.
Right, and so that's why it's weird that it's asymmetrical, disproportionate. Like,
Well,
part of it is obviously Avengers have a shitload of people already.
Yeah, it's because the Shield roster is already an Avengers roster. So yeah, every Shield member is that except for Taskmaster and Winter Soldier, which can also be Shield members.
Yeah.
Sorry,
This
also be
also-
Avengers members are in Avengers. So
This also effectively guarantees that Master of Hydra is going to be a member of Cabal as well, though.
it's highly
Yes.
likely. Yeah.
It would be very weird for, like, Zola to be in both, but if I put Red Skull as not, like, that'd be so awkward.
There's one other piece of information I was unaware of. The
Mhm.
Nick Fury Sr. and the Howling Commandos.
Yeah.
What size base are they on?
Is it not medium?
Not medium is the correct answer.
Oh, yeah, small.
You mean typo is the correct answer.
Maybe.
where
I'm
is
checking.
this printed? Is it...
I'm assuming you're looking at it, but I just want to look at it too.
It's on the base size guide that was also updated.
Why is the base size reference under organized play? It should be under the rules.
There's a bunch of stuff in
obviously.
the organized play that's really
So
odd.
Zola's a medium, Strucker's a small, Nick Fury and Howling Commandos are a large, Human Torch small, and Steve Rogers small.
Yeah, I totally just assumed that they were going to be on a medium base like all of the other grunts. But
So
apparently
let's
they're
look
on
at
a big
some of the-
one.
Let's look at some of the pictures. Like, do they show the base in any of the pictures? Let's go to transmissions. If not, I'll go to the box art. Nope.
It looks like it's a custom base.
Maybe that'd be why nobody noticed it before.
Because it was never published as to how big it was. Assuming
Mm-hmm.
it is 65 millimeters and not a typo. I don't know how that changes my thinking about
They
them.
are.
But
They look really close together for a large, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and the box just says comes with one base. Interesting.
Does that really let them do really? I mean, it lets them do some funny things by really reaching out a little bit further if you're contesting an objective also. But beyond that is there anything else
Well, I
in the
mean,
rest?
are they a medium large?
yeah,
Is that
they're
yeah,
a
so
medium
they're
move
quite
large
fast.
base. So
Mhm.
talk about getting around where they want to.
Mhm.
You know,
so just like Ghost Rider, they can more than likely advance and attack who's on the middle point on the first turn.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
they're range 4.
Yeah, very easily.
Oh yeah, range 4. They probably take their pick of multiple.
Oh,
objectives.
here's the worst part. They're now slinging, right? Siblings in Arms is their ability. Hair flip? A Royal Decree, sorry. The Royal Decree off a large base. Like, I have to totally rethink this entire model.
Royal Decree. What?
Royal
He's talking about-
Decree.
Royal Decree off Medusa or Storm's leadership or anything that lets you hop a model.
Yeah.
Just because it's a 3-point large base?
They have the ability called Sibling in Arms, which is
Oh.
the same as Royal Decree.
Gotcha.
I just referred to it as
follow.
Royal Decree because that's what people usually call it. But
Yeah.
So they can place people a lot further than they could have if they're just a medium base. How about that?
Hmm. Yeah, they can really move a model really far.
Or
In
they
terms of
could
them.
really move, right? Place them
Right.
within one of a character within two of them. Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty big swing. Especially if you're jumping like another large.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yep.
It's like a 6 or 7 inch place. Yeah. I mean, being that they're kind of long range already, I mean, obviously I think it'll be better to place other people because they're like all medium range already.
I can tell you playing Winter.
Interesting.
I can tell you playing Winter Soldier that placing yourself and flipping over on a longer range model is fantastic for offense, not for moving others. But
Or defense. Use it for both. Hop over,
Yeah.
shoot people, hop back.
right. Also, it's really easy to like pick up a point and then flip over. Like you'll be able to move. You'll be able to pick up a point from very far away.
Yeah, so I'm thinking trying to think if there's a way to really abuse like Storm's leadership with them, where if you could get them an extra power, they could advance in front of a model, place them with Brothers in Arms or whatever it's called, and then use Storm's leadership to leapfrog them. That could be, I think you're standing past the middle line, and you still have an action. Anyway.
It's an awful lot to do. Pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
so if that's accurate, that's interesting. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, the more I look at the picture, I think it actually might be a large base. So,
Jeremy,
I thought-
are you gonna play these guys if they're on large base? If you're gonna be like, oh, Howling Commandos all day.
Nope.
I could not care less.
Don't care about them.
Dear listeners, I'm looking at his face right now. It has the biggest I could give no fucks.
I just don't like I don't know, maybe it's Golden Age comics bullshit,
Uh-huh.
but like I'm just not in. Like I'm like
I am not a huge fan of just regular fuckos like in the game. Like I'm not.
I'm
big
like a
fan of
large
it.
base with like a herd of dudes on it fucking running
Yeah.
about. Not so much. Don't really give a shit.
I play this game for superheroes to beat each other up, and like I feel like these people would just be like, even in the comics, like, or the movies, at least I haven't read all the comics, but they were not that impactful. Like they're like great soldiers, but like they're just soldier. Like okay, like
I was gonna say,
I
what
feel
are you
like-
doing beyond
I feel
a
like
guy with a gun. Like
everything-
Punisher's already like the bottom tier, and he's pretty exceptional beyond like normal human standards.
Everything Shield just reminds me of like 40k Imperial Guard. I'm like, I really like you have to commit to that, and I just
Yeah.
won't.
yep, you have to be cool with you
Like
are
that would be
dudes.
cool if we had like a squad based game, and it's like here's a bunch of guys, and like they're meet like commanding
Exactly.
the guys. Like okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm out. I'm like, how about I launch a shitload of fire or like weapons that are made by
yeah.
gods?
Every
fucking
time
ruin
they
it.
like shoot Iron Man or Hulk, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
It's
Like,
a
what are you
bullet.
doing? Like
Like since when is
This-
a
we've
bullet
already established
mattered?
I'm immune to those. Like get out of here.
I've mentioned that I really like Wanted, which is not a Marvel Universe comic, but I really like the comic where he's just like, some people can shoot laser beams and some people can, piss on the moon, and some people can, invert the earth like a sock. I just kill people with bullets. Now, in Wanted, his bullets are like insanely high tech, super cool, designed to kill hero bullets. It's not just like Winter Soldier's assault rifle, like that's supposed to be able to kill Colossus somehow. Like I don't.
Yeah.
So I think the Wanted universe sets him up for success at just shooting people in the face and winning. In this, in the Marvel universe, there's a whole pantheon of characters that just have pistols, and they're just using them against, like, the fact that when Thor throws Mjolnir, it is one more dice than like Sin with a hammer is so weird. I think it's so weird, even though
No,
it is
it's
a hammer.
the same dice. It's
thought-
5 versus 4.
Wait, Thor's hammer is only 5 dice? I thought it was 6. Oh, when he throws the hammer, it's 5, right? Oh,
You said
Jesus
throw.
Christ! Yeah, when he
Yeah.
throws his hammer, it's like a big bullet. That's just
hmm
okay.
Mhm.
There's a certain level of abstractedness you have to apply, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like to see a bigger level of discrepancy from like the exceptional stuff to the small stuff. Like the smallest stack in the game is 4 dice, and the largest stack in the game, I think printed, is 9. That's a pretty big gap, but like the majority of stuff caps at 7.
Malekith is
realistically.
10. He's the only one I think has 10
Right.
printed.
So there's a handful of people that get to very large numbers, but they're very expensive characters and cost a lot of power. The majority of attacks in the game are 4 or 5 dice, and it's 6 is kind of an exception, and 7 is a rarity. 8 and 9 and 10 are just like exceedingly rare.
Well, it's also, I can see how they have to do it in terms of mechanics. If they actually, Thor is literally in the comics hit Galactus in the face with Mjolnir and like staggered him. That's
Mhm.
something that he's done before. They can't make Mjolnir do that in this game. It would be so dumb.
They could have made his throw do 6 dice, like that would have been fine.
Right, but what I'm saying is giving
Yeah.
him 14 dice on his strike because that's what he
Right.
did to Galactus. That makes sense, but
I do
It's
think
not
that
what you
dudes
can do.
with bullets should be a die. Like, I think that should be hot garbage. Like, if you have a gun and you shoot a gun at a superhero, that means 0. At no point
Mhm.
have I watched an Avengers movie or read a comic book where a pistol ever did a thing. Not one time.
I'm searching my memory banks.
Yeah. Help me out here, Parker. Like, it
Uh,
doesn't matter. Even the
I mean-
worst Wolverine movies. Like,
I was
at
gonna
no
say-
point does a pistol do a thing.
I was gonna say, like, people have been
Oh,
shot before. I mean, Cap was killed once by a gun, but it's not like,
Thomas Wayne does not like your opinion.
yeah. Thomas Wayne would say otherwise.
Oh no.
Uncle Ben.
But to be fair, also, like, there's a lot of things about the Marvel universe where
Yeah.
if Thor like just let loose, he would just kill everything, right? If he just like went absolutely ham. He doesn't do that because it would, drench continents and upheave
Listen,
plates.
I am not interested in what happened in World War I in my tabletop war games. Let's start there.
Okay. Then you'll love my next news. Here's a
Oh
transition.
God. Here we go.
This is something not in World War One. My faction has finally arrived. The robots have been spoiled. Coming out October 14th, is that right? I marked it on my calendar. I made a tattoo in my inner thigh so I don't want to forget that they're coming out on October 14th.
Mhm.
Is it your upper inner thigh?
The upper inner thigh.
Upper thigh.
It's really close to the forest.
12 o'clock.
I think that's it's
Noon.
so high. It's just called the
Yeah,
taint.
yeah. It's functionally the perineum at this point.
Yeah.
So
They had to have somewhere to tattoo the energy beam coming out.
It is the Sentinels. The Sentinels have been spoiled. We know what the Mark IV does, and we know what the Sentinel Prime Mark IV does. And so we have a little bit of information. First off, I'm going to try to get this really quick because we've been talking a lot about this news. They have 7 health in the front. I'm going to do Mark IV first. So this is the basic one.
The baby.
Yeah, they have 7 health in the front, 6 health in the back. Otherwise, they're the same. They're large bases, size 5, move short. Their stat line defensively is 3-4-4. They have a Plasma Blast, which is their range 3 builder that they can spend up to 3 power to add dice when they attack. Then Suppression Protocols, which is their spender for 3 costs. They get 8 dice, also at range 3, with Wild Suppression that works, I think, identically to Hawkeye's bow and arrow. For every wild, it's Incinerate, Shock, or Slow. I don't think Hawkeye has any more things than that.
He bleeds.
He also bleeds, so they cannot make you bleed. They have Restraint Cables, which is a la Venom's Pull Me Towards You. Get over here. Range 4, cost 2, pull character short. They have...
This is different. It is different than Webline because it requires line of sight.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the web lines do not require line of sight unless they say so in the ability. They caught that at some point in development, but the first wave of web warriors don't require line of sight because it doesn't target.
Interesting. Yeah, well, there you go. They have the Master Mold passive, which lets you take exactly 2 Sentinel Mark IVs. Power Matrix, their passive that says at the end of the character's activation they gain 2 power. They also have Sentinel Programming, which stops them from being advanced by Psychic Powers and attacks. They also gain Wilds as 2 successes whenever they're defending against Mystic attacks. So basically, it's the combination of Ultron's Metal Flesh power and Deadpool's. You can't mess with them.
All will be metal or something like that.
Yeah, so it's all will be metal, which makes sense. Plus Deadpool's you can't move me around thing. The only funny thing about their backside is they do gain one of their powers changes. The Power Matrix, which gives you 2 power on the front side, only gives you 1 power on the backside.
There's one other very important difference.
What am I missing?
Plasma Leak!
Oh, that's right. Plasma Blast becomes Plasma Leak, which has, when you're rolling additional dice for crits, you roll 2 additional dice for each crit. And after the attack is resolved, the character suffers damage for each crit in the attack roll, and you can no longer buff it with power. So you get extra for crits, but you take damage for crits as well.
News at 11.
It's also reduced in range to 2.
Yes, that's right. It reduces in range.
I love the picture. He's like literally about to explode. It's like
he is
so funny.
Okay, so we want to talk about Mark IV first.
Yes. So when I first saw this, the first thing I checked was his point cost.
Yep.
And then I said, that is not one of the numbers I would have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I read the card, and then I went, oh, so they're dog shit. and then I took a step back, and I reevaluated the situation with a 4-point frame of mind because I was going in with a 6-point frame of mind.
Right.
And so I had to really dial down my expectations because I went in expecting a 6-point model. And even though I read the 4-point first, I was like, it's still shit. Like, it's garbage. And so the more time I've had to think about it, I keep warming on these guys more and more. I think they might actually be good. What do you guys think? All right,
if you want to let me start, I'll go.
Go.
I love these guys. I think they're fantastic. For precisely the reason what you just mentioned was just the 4 cost. I think their physical 3 may look pretty bad because it does make them slightly worse to throws. I think that's something to consider. But they do have 7 health on the front side, which is super high tier for a 4-coster. Only ones we see are like incredibly difficult to kill models like Black Dwarf have more. I love a large base with 2 different range 3s. That's amazing. Large bases in range. What's that?
All 3 of us are shaking our heads. Black Dwarf has less health than 7 on the front, but go ahead.
Oh, I thought it was 8. What is it?
It's 6'8". He's 6'8", not 8'6".
Okay, I'm sorry. I have it backwards. Thank you.
Just for people at home.
Clarification, yeah. I love the large base. I think people are going to not appreciate multiple large bases running around until they see it, in the same way that I didn't appreciate multiple medium bases running around until I played Spider Foes. And I realized, like, wow, having a bunch of medium bases around, it just creates a huge amount of presence when all of my medium bases have range 3 attacks. It's really hard for my opponent to go somewhere without me being able to really activate on them. So the fact that you can pull them towards you at range 4, or just be a large base with range 3, meaning you can contest objectives, maybe multiple objectives in certain situations, and still, put exert your will on the rest of the board. Bleeds and poisons are really common. They're immune to those. They fly if it's worth it. I don't know if it is really because they already move short, but I think the biggest thing by far is Power Matrix. I love that. The ability to get 2 power at the end means they can't do it proactively. It keeps their costs down. We've talked a lot about how characters have a higher cost and a tax when they can gain more than 1 power at the beginning of their turn. That this flips that script and says we can keep their costs down and give them access to things because they're going to get power at the end. But it also turns on things like awesome tactics cards. All the reactive cards become live. You can play a follow me on turn 2 if you don't spend your power on interacting with an objective. You just get a follow me for free on turn 2. It is super strong.
Okay, that was a lot. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts?
So I like the fact that they're size 5, so they ignore a lot of the normal stuff. They can't really be thrown by a lot of models and all that, so that's cool. They've got a huge health pool, so that's also cool. The one thing that kind of stands out, though, is they do the cool thing, which is I have a shitload of power and I can't do anything with it. Well, they can jam it into their gun, which is cool. They actually can, they can pump up a good shot. They can pump up a couple good shots if they've got a bunch of power on them. I like that. Other than that, nothing really stands out on these guys, as in, I'm a huge model. You want to play me because I'm awesome. Honestly, I just don't care that much. I'm not overly excited. I'm glad Parker is, and I'm glad that there is kind of a community awesome. I love these guys. Great. That's just keys to a good game. Good job. I'm not excited, but cool for everybody else.
So my take is somewhere in the middle. Let's see. Has there been anyone released recently with 3 physical defense, 7 health, and move short? I don't remember. Anyone help me out?
Probably the bear.
The bear.
Oh, the bear!
That was just a random guess. Is it the bear?
So these guys are.
Nice.
So I've been playing Winter Guard at the shop since they came out. I'm now done playing Winter Guard because I fucking hate them.
I mean, if the bear had Sentinel programming, I would think about it.
So these guys are clearly better than the bear, right?
Yeah.
Now the bear has a really great spender. That's why you take the bear. these guys have power matrix and the ability to pull people in. Okay, so they're better than the bear. Are they that much better? I don't know.
So I feel like there's exactly one reason that Sentinels are going to see the table.
Hold on.
It's-
Did Darren, was that the end of your?
Sorry. Go
No.
ahead.
That was it. Okay.
I can talk more, but go ahead.
Well, the only reason they're going to see the table is board control, because they both have board control and deny board control to your opponent. So if they get to an acceptable level of board control, then they absolutely will be a viable faction. They'll just be the new Web Warriors that you can't reverse board control back. And if their staying power is just long enough to get to the win, it doesn't matter. And so having Webline on your entire faction, having immune to Webline on your entire faction, and like who moves them? There's 5 models in the game that move these guys? Because
So
they're size
Doesn't
5
Webline
and
move
no
these guys?
superpowers and no mystic.
So I think you're going to see an uptake in the people that can throw them, right? Malekith says, "Oh, why don't you go flying into your buddy? Take 6 fucking hits, man. You're going to one-shot a Sentinel by throwing him into his buddy."
That,
So,
that
um,
actively doesn't one-shot him, but yes.
Shut up. It's close. On his backside it does.
It is
Um,
close if you blank out and don't play Brace or Indomitable.
Yes. So I think that might be a liability. I'm okay with that being baked into their kit. I think their front side's really good. Their builder can be amazing. But because their builder turns into dog shit on the back and they get 1 less power, my initial response into seeing this guy across from me is I'm just going to daze him turn 2.
Well, keep in mind that you dazing him on turn 2 gives him 7 power. So he's going to have plenty of power on the backside.
Sure. To do nothing with, other than pull my entire team. So it's just like I'm playing against Web Warriors. Okay. Do I think they're dog shit? Not at all. Like, I think there's some solid models. But I don't think we can evaluate the faction without knowing tactics cards. So right now my evaluation is limited to, would I want to play this 4-point model for it being a 4-point model in any list? I think the answer is yes, to try it out and just see. But from a competitive standpoint, I don't think it meets the splash 4s that you're going to see currently.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any chance of this guy getting played as a splash character. It's all in or not.
So
You're either playing the strategy or you're not.
I think one of the things that comes down to specifically what you said about tactics cards is this guy is, in some ways, comparable to things like Venom because he has a lot of the similar things Venom does, with the exception of more power generation. But he's actually pretty close. He has
Yeah.
Inverted defensive stats, but he's similar.
He actually has better defensive stats,
yeah.
I would argue.
Right.
He's got same movement, same hit points, same point cost, similar control mechanic,
Right.
better power generation,
similar range.
attack ranges. Yeah. He's better in some ways and worse in some obvious ones.
But one of the things that makes Venom stick out, of course, is Lethal Protector. So if Sentinels have a generic Sentinel Mark IV, not in the Sentinel affiliation card that feels really good like that, I see you could drop him in if you feel like dropping in something like Venom, for example.
Well, I think we're ready for the next card.
Yep, that's what I was about to do.
Has questions.
So Sentinel Prime Mark IV is the leader of the Sentinel faction. He has the same defensive stats, 3/4/4. He costs 5. Also size 5, also movement short. He has 10 health on the front side, 8 health on the back. So here's the laundry list is actually pretty similar, so I'm just going to kind of talk about it really quick. Still has the same Plasma Blast, only it starts with the base 5 dice instead of 4. Otherwise, it's the same as the regular Mark IV. Same suppression protocols, Suspender. It again follows the same pattern, 1 extra dice. So it's 9 dice, but it does cost 4 power. So 1 more dice for 1 more power. He does have his affiliation. When an enemy character is dazed, after the effect is resolved, choose a number of allied characters equal to the dazed character's threat value. Each chosen character gains 1. A character cannot gain more than 1 result of this ability each turn. So if you daze 2 different characters, and so you have 2 during the same turn, and you have 2 instances of being able to resolve this, you couldn't give more than 1 power to any single character. He also has restraint cables that work the same way. He has a new thing called pattern analysis. Is this I feel like we have another character who has this.
It's
when I've
Sherry.
read it. What's that?
It's exactly Shuri's rule.
Yes, it's exactly Shuri's rule. So a character within
upgrades.
4. Yep. It's exactly that. So basically, it is Shuri's rule now on a large base. He has Power Matrix just like the other one, and Sentinel Programming just like the others. On his backside, you would think it would be the same, but actually is not. So his backside, some of his stuff changes, but not his attacks. His attacks stay the same, but his overloading power core occurs. So instead of getting his power matrix, which just gives him 2 power at the end, he basically gains exactly Green Goblin's instability rule. During the power
It's
phase, you roll 5
different,
dice, but something else happens. Yeah. So, oh, you're right. It is different. So during the power phase, roll 5 dice for each crit and hit. He gains a power. If at least 1 skull is rolled, he suffers a damage. So it only works on crits and hits, and he also takes damages for skulls. You're right, that is different. So it's a new kind of Green Goblin, kind of mixed with Red Skulls thing.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I think pattern analysis is the question mark. Is that enough to make these guys good? And I think the answer is maybe. Because if you're looking at turn 2's like attrition swing, your guys are going to have enough power to do fully empowered plasma blasts, and the big sentinel's going to have enough power to fully reroll 3 of the dice. And so you'd be potentially putting effectively 10 dice energy attacks into people on turn 2. And you have board control and a lot of hit points. I don't know if that's enough, but it's real cool.
I feel like this guy's very aggressively costed for a 5. I think he feels...
I don't know. He doesn't do anything really defining other than his pattern analysis.
I think 10 health and 8 health is pretty large.
Also, his plasma blast doesn't break.
Yes.
Yep. So I'm with Parker on this one. Whereas I wouldn't splash the 4s, I could see taking him as a standalone 5.
Yeah, I could see that.
Purely based on that health pool. Like, oh my god, that's just a ton of meat to chew through. Not as resilient as like a Juggernaut, but you park him somewhere, he's got 10 health to chew through, and then he's spitting out 8 dice builders at range 3. Like, forget about his leadership, his pattern analysis. Just think of that. Like, people love Scarlet Witch, right? She's a turret. She kills whatever she wants. But she's super fragile, okay? Compare her to this guy. Yeah, I'll take him, put him on the point, because you're going to have to go through a lot more work to get him down.
Also, he can pattern analyze his own dice. So if you're damaging him and you're not like one-shotting him, he is constantly re-rolling his defensive dice, making that the 3 physical not as hard to feel. Also, the 4 mystical and energy can get really hard to overcome if you're trying to kill him with energy or mystic.
Yep, like I said, I just think he is not. I like your word. He's aggressively costed. I don't think he's overpowered, broken, but I think he's a good solid 5 that I could see taking anytime you want someone to do what the bear should have been doing, which is sit on a point and not die.
Yeah.
So I think they're comparable to Black Dwarf in that way. He's got board control. He's a little power hungry, and he only hits hard if he has a lot of power. And he's a brick that's hard to move. So as the 5-point version, he's obviously superior to Black Dwarf, but I don't know. I think the 4s are kind of in that realm for me.
I think one of the things I'll say about the Mutant Hunters, a lot of people are instantly kind of disappointed by that. As someone who's played First of the Black Order a lot, I think I played almost over a dozen Black Order games, and I only played Thanos once. I never played his leadership either. I could tell you that if a lot of people were mad, it's not dazed or KO'd. You only get the power for KO'd. I can tell you that in the pace of this game, by the time you're KOing people, power is not the problem. Power is the problem when you're actually needing to daze people, because you're usually expending a lot of resources to get the daze. You're also, in that point of the game, you're spending lots of power on scenarios and tactics cards trying to get that early advantage. So that's when you really love having that nice smoothing out of your power curve by getting rewards for winning, for being dazed. Dazing other characters, and when you spread it out to all characters, there's no range problem. It just happens whenever you daze people. It feels really good. I actually think that every time Mutant Hunters will proc for me, I will really like it and appreciate it. It will not feel like useless. It will feel very, very effective. especially like Brandon and pointed out, and I think it's Jeremy also pointed out that they can always use their power. They can always use it. So it turns into damage at least. If you're just running Sentinels, of course, anybody else who you give power to, you're talking about more ways.
It's interesting because they're so front loaded. Like their front side is where all their power is for the most part. They really fall off a cliff on the backside. And so it's all about getting that early punching in and getting those early efficiency trades. I'm wondering if that's going to be their downside. Is like if you can just hang on till turn 3, they fall apart.
The average number of dice that Prime gets on his backside is 1.875. So his power is about the same as the front. He just takes a little damage for it.
Oh, you're saying the amount of power he generates?
Yeah.
Okay. With a roll looking for crits and hits. Yeah.
Yeah. Crits and hits, 3/8 chance times 5 dice, 1.875. So that's why I think he's in a much better spot. Both.
Yeah, and his gun not breaking is pretty big.
Yep.
Now on the backside, I think the other Sentinels are going to have enough power to just throw their suppression attack at him anyway. So, which is still range 3 and like 8 dice.
You should never throw that
versus your plasma leak.
Oh, the leak on the back. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
No,
I'm saying basically once you're on the back, you're throwing that whenever you can because the plasma leak is a real question mark. One thing I didn't realize they couldn't overspend on the back because it's broken until a minute ago. I was gonna say that it'd be awesome because you could overspend it to 7, get your double exploding crits, and then use pattern analysis to re-roll your crit dice into other hits, and so they don't deal damage to you, which would be extra cute. But it's whatever.
Another funny thing about size 5s that I thought of is if you're playing this faction, which I will be, then you have 3 large bases on the board, and if you're not playing another large base because you're trying to get really cheeky with your remaining character, that is a lot of area denial. That's a lot of just like space on the board your opponent can't be. You can put them in such a way that it's really hard for your opponent to get to the thing they want to get to. One of the things I think is kind of an unwritten bonus of playing a Sentinel list is that you're going to be at the very beginning have a weird advantage in terms of presence on the board, creating functionally impassable, perfect blocking, not blocking terrain, but unstoppable terrain. You can't stop there. It makes it interesting.
Parker, have you looked this up, or are you just like talking in general?
What do you mean, like actually put large bases down and seen how it works?
Yeah.
No, I have not done that. Is that
so? You can exactly use 3 large bases to completely wall off a single objective. If there's no other contributing factors. So someone has done the geometry and shown that if you have to be, it's a fairly small variance, but if you're basically, I think it's just outside the objective space, there's not room for a small base in the middle, and the small bases on the outside are not within range 1 of the objective.
But you can also just look at the game board and go like, well, he's got a small move, so he's not going to be able to move towards me, and then he can't do. So then your Hulk can't Gamma Leap and effectively come and attack my guy behind my Sentinel, right? The front Sentinel's got to be the one that gets engaged because it's hard to get to the back Sentinel. So I think that's really interesting that this is something kind of baked into an army full of large bases, is they kind of have to get the guy in front oftentimes if they only have short-range attacks. It's going to be really interesting to see this play, but I have a lot of hope, and one of them is in the Sentinel Prime. I think he's going to give it.
Yeah, I think the only way the faction works is with Prime.
Yeah.
Can't wait till we play spiders and all 3 of your Sentinels go walking the wrong direction every turn.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Whatever.
I think it's fine. Sure.
I think if the Sentinels get all the spiders, you have a different problem.
Just 3 of them. I'll take 2.
Okay.
There's only 3 Sentinels.
Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on Sentinels as a whole?
I think this affiliation will be defined by its tactic card. I think that there's going to be a card that is going to define what's happening with these guys. I think as is, I don't think they're that interesting. I think it's cool that they didn't blow it up and give them all like, an 8-point prime and a 6-point, like craziness. I think they made it
I don't
very
think it would have
playable.
been balanceable. Yeah, I think they would just be dog shit or broken as fuck.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of glad they went this route.
yeah, which is fine. But I do think they're going to have a Tactics card that's ridiculous, and that will get them played, which is cool.
I have
Can't wait
absolutely no
till
hope.
can't wait till the Tactics card just Age of Ultron for one Sentinel. They just call in another Sentinel for eight
Oh
power.
my god,
Oh, it's gonna be so great.
I think
it's possible.
after I used to think that was something they gave to factions they were purposely trying to keep on the power curve, and then Winter Guard happened, and I was like, oh, so it's possible to just have nothing that
Yeah, but we
excites you.
know they hate Winter Guard because we've seen their cards. So
Yeah, it's just it's kind of strange. I was expecting that exact same thing, Jeremy, but after Winter Guard has taught me to hope for nothing. But even in my opinion, these guys are already set up for a lot more to do than Winter Guard, even if nothing happens to their Tactics cards.
So, okay, that's a whole different discussion. And until you play into Winter Guard and choke on their nonsense, that's a whole different thing.
Okay.
I think it's pretty obvious they were trying to do a very specific thing with Winter Guard, and that was make X-Force not the worst affiliation.
If you say so.
Jeremy
they're-
has found his new kryptonite. Everybody else has found their new punching bag. I love this situation.
Okay. Could be.
All right, so I have one more question for you guys on this topic. Who are your go-to drop-ins to fill out your points with your Sentinel list? Because the Sentinels add up to 13 points, so you've got some points left.
I have no idea.
All right, strong information, Jeremy.
You like
I
that?
appreciate this.
I have not thought about it. Give me 10 seconds.
Well, in that case, I'll go first with my favorite two-pointer is Wong. Because what's better than healing and removing negative effects for 2 points?
Doing it from very
He,
far away.
he also holds a back point really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say doing it from very far away also because of the large bases.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say anybody who has a buff or a like a pocket, I think it's gonna be really strong, like Zemo, because you can actually extend that out a long way away and protect Zemo behind them. Wong is another good example of someone who can do that. Anybody who likes to flip over, like Winter Soldier, like the new Fury, like I think anybody who wants to flip. Also, I actually considered regular Nick Fury because it just gives you something to extra bodies, right, for 4 points. If you want to do it one 4-point option, it's a really effective guy who's going to manipulate extracts, and Nick Fury who's not a total asshole. So I think it's I think it would be, after playtesting them, I want to see like what scenario do they really struggle with, and it'll be putting models in that are going to help me with specifically that.
I think you either need bodies for objectives, in which case you're talking about people like Lizard. Like, I want the most survivable 3 points to go hold objectives or sit on objectives. Or you go attrition with, in the 3-point range, Zemo X-23, and you use the sense to bring people in, and then use your other models to just murder them. So I think there's 2 ways you could go, and you might even have them. If you're going to play Scent, you're going to have a lot of splash characters available to you. If you don't dual affiliate.
Luke Cage and Red Guardian are also good. Because Red Guardian's got the board control and a little bit of the protection stuff. And then Luke Cage, just buying your Sentinel another turn might be worth it alone.
I actually thought with all the pulling stuff and the need for your Sentinel's dice to become stronger, Heimdall's not a bad choice. He can also hide behind the Sentinels. And if you ever want to try to go over the Sentinels to attack Heimdall, that feels great. Otherwise,
I feel like you already have the rerolls, and you don't. The only times you would need to move is if you're moving to contest an objective, because if they're within range 4, you can just pull them towards you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really need to get any closer. And you already have rerolls with Sentinel Prime. I feel like Heimdall, while good, would be kind of more of the same.
I don't think you're wrong. I think it is more of the same. But I do not know if that's exactly what you want. I have to play
At that point, I think Lockjaw might actually be better because it's a bigger place. He has more power, and you can actually up your dice pool instead of getting more rerolls.
I think
also it's really hard to move him away from Lockjaw, so Lockjaw always gets his power.
Also, last minute saving a Sentinel sounds really good.
Yeah, competitively speaking, they are missing any way to throw. They're also missing any way to do movement shenanigans. By shenanigans, I mean move at all, like across the board.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if
They're
your
not
opponent
the most nimble people.
no, if your opponent picks up the single extract and moves away, I think your entire team of Sens is like shit. Like if you don't have Black Panther and Black Cat, some people who can actually reach out and affect the board somewhere else besides where they're at.
You could
bad.
send one sentinel up, double move, and then like pull them forward, and then just
Short.
chain pull them.
Yeah,
Like,
short.
It's
And then they
worst
go and
case
move.
scenario. Yeah, worst case scenario for sure. But
Mhm.
Anyway, depending on the situation, you need to have someone in your list, competitively speaking, that can get somewhere, or
Alright,
a
I'm gonna tell
lockjaw to like really help the Sentinels
right,
get
or
up the board.
lockjaw
One
to
of the
just
two.
go get them. Yeah. Can I
I'm
tell
gonna
you who I'm
make
really
a-
excited to play with these guys?
It's
I'll make a
Magneto, but go ahead.
It's
Super,
not Magneto.
super hot take.
Mhm.
There's going to be a Rainbow Bridge tactic card for them. Betcha.
Mm.
Oh, I would be surprised if they don't have a mobility tactics card, given what we've seen. That'd be really surprising.
Mhm.
I feel like they're gonna have a crazy tactics card though, like something
I
that we
know,
haven't
like-
seen before.
No, I don't think
fucking an Age of Ultron for all three of them, like some sort of crazy shit.
I think they'll have like some kind of like repair nanites or something like a We Are Groot type card. And by the way, Groot in this list is not terrible either because We Are Groot healing a bunch of damage would be fun.
It's also really
Ugh.
easy to. Again, it's another one of those bubbles that would touch multiple characters. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And just patch up in general, just like an extra 5 hit points. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about healing maybe a silly amount.
Also,
Anyway, though,
Rocket and Groot are really efficient. Go do their own thing. 5 point, and it's 2 characters.
kind of yeah.
Yeah.
But you're wrong because there's a better 5-point option. Are you ready?
Mm.
MODOK. Got a 4th large base. And MODOK has his Psychic Fortress to give them all cover. And he has aim lackeys to give them an extra move. It's perfect.
The aim lackeys
Yeah.
is not nothing because the small move and the large
It's
base is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. If you have 5 points, one of the cool things about them, like Aaron said when I was getting ready to list build for him, is I was like, okay, here's my 3 models in my faction, and the rest is just what I need. It's just like a
Whoa,
big
whoa.
tool chest.
They have 4 models in their faction.
Here's the 3 models in my faction. I stand by my original statement. I refuse to play that bitch because I tried so hard.
That bitch. Remember when we talked about if you were on a boat and what model if you had to throw a model overboard, you'd throw Cassandra Nova overboard?
Yep.
And I was like, why not Viper? And you're like, oh yeah, she's in the game.
I actually would keep Viper. I would keep Viper. If you told me you must throw away one,
I mean,
I wouldn't
with
even-
what we know now, you would.
I wouldn't
but
even look down at my collection. It would be a no look huck.
You would just,
Yeah,
yeah.
just this is the one. You're like,
All
sorry, what was the question? I heard throw a model overboard.
So, do you think these guys would be good just as a solo 3-man package on sword base?
We're talking about like 14 points.
Yeah, 14 points, play a point down, and just put 1 sentinel on each sword base objective. Could you win with that?
No.
You
Uh,
don't think so?
I would instead do Winter Soldier and a 2-pointer. That's what I would do.
See, you could have stopped and just said no, but
Fine. All right. Cool. Moving on. Parker, you have a comic corner for us this week?
Yeah. I have actually, in honor of my Sentinel Bros, I've got the latest, and let's all shed a tear for Jonathan Hickman's last stab at the X-Men. He basically set up, for those of you who are unaware, he set up the current Marvel take on the X-Men. It's kind of been dubbed by the fan community the Krakoan age of the X-Men, where they have their own island and they're doing their own thing, basically trying to establish themselves as a world power rather than this, hide and try to do good things. So his last big event is called Inferno, and as the name suggests, it is a lot of shit that comes to a head and burns up. None the least of which, spoiler alert, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because if you haven't seen it yet, talking about this comic is so apocryphal and vague it becomes impossible. But Moira McTaggart is a really key cornerstone character because she's revealed to be a mutant. This is like 2 years ago she was revealed to be a mutant, and she is the reason why the X-Men are taking this new stance, because she has lived multiple lifetimes. That's her mutant ability, is she always reincarnates. And so what she has learned is that the mutants always lose. Eventually, machines and humans work together. Machines beget humans, humans beget machines in a cycle until the mutants can't keep up and they lose. Yes.
Just a point of order. You said that she reincarnates. Just
Mhm.
for clarity, she reincarnates at her normal time of birth.
Yes.
So
Like
she
all the way
basically
back in her birth.
Groundhog Days her whole life.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
she has to live through her whole life. And it's a really cool story. House of X, Power of X, like talks about her life and what that would do to a person. It's really fantastic. But this comes to a head as one of her big sticking points with willing to work with Professor X and Magneto to set this whole Krakoan thing is that there can be no precogs, no precognitive mutants, because they're the only ones that can see through her and like what she tries to do to Destiny, basically. And so the character Destiny is the one she hates the most because she is the super strong precognitive mutant. Mystique is Destiny's wife, so Mystique is working really hard to get Destiny to come back to life or die trying. This situation between this dark triangle in the shadows going on between X-Men characters, Professor X, Magneto, Mystique, and Moira all comes to a head. And one of the big moments that happens is this is not a big spoiler. Omega, which is a Sentinel, and Omega is basically think of like Gen 2 Sentinel, right? So she is a combination of human and Sentinel tech. She reveals that she is actually not from this era in the Marvel Universe. She's from an alternate timeline where, get this, the mutants won. And so she basically knows how the mutants win. And that's the reason why she's in their current timeline working against them, because she was sent back kind of like Terminator 2 style to kill the mutants, because in her timeline, mutants always win. So Hickman writes this really cool way out for the mutants, but then what does Omega Sentinel and the newly formed Nimrod Sentinel, the like peak of Sentinel technology, what are they going to do to stop the X-Men and the other Krakoan mutants? If that sounds just awesome, if that sounds like just fantastic science fiction, and you want to see how man plus machine goes up against mutants, check out Inferno. It also unravels a lot of the plot threads that have been building for all of the different comic titles while Hickman's been in charge. I'm really excited to see what happens next, because the end of Inferno is also fantastic. It leads it open again to more stuff. So if you want to know what the next chapter is going to start like, read Inferno. It just came out not too long ago. It's super good. Really fun to read.
Cool. I think you did a good job of giving them just enough information without blowing everything up.
Yeah. It sounded like a lot, right? That was like 1/50th of the stuff that happens.
Yeah. Cool.
It is super cool.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today, unless you guys have anything else you want to chat about before we get done. No? All right. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And Aaron.
And thank you for listening to The Gang Rounds Up All the Mutants.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We did it!
We did it.
I'm so proud of you guys.
I'm so proud of everyone here.
I was gone for a week and y'all lost your fucking minds.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're
Jesus
just mad that we
Christ.
made up with the forums.
Yeah.
No.
We
Until
finally-
this week. Now we're mad again.
No, we've always been nice to the forums. The forums are our
You
friend.
guys are mad. Let's not. You're bullshitting our audience. They know better.
The forums are my friend, because
Nope.
every time I read it, I find out new rules I can manipulate to my benefit.
Oh my god.
What's that old slogan, like, ridiculing something relentlessly is the truest form of flattery? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's by Socrates, actually.
Yeah, it's
Plato.
It's pronounced Socrates.
Socrates. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Man, he was so great.
get it.
I can't
'Cause
say
that's
it.
his name.
I can't say it.
Can't say it.
Oh my
The,
god.
the man
okay.
doesn't deserve that.
What's
Uh,
more important? Stop the presses.
Stop presses.
Sandman. I watched the entire thing on the flight to Florida, and then I finished it on the way back. Holy shit! That is a
So you
good
say
show.
it's a real Rick and Morty situation,
That is a
huh?
good show. You need to watch it immediately.
Okay.
Very,
I,
very good.
I'm on episode 7, and
Well
I
done.
really liked the episode that I just watched. It's the episode with he hangs out with his sister for one
Mhm.
half of it, and the other half he oh shit, what was the second half? Because the part where he hangs out with his friend, his
Yep.
friend,
The
like
one that, yeah.
yeah, I'm
No,
not gonna spoil it.
It's so good and so different. Like it just feels different, and it's just for folks that love sci-fi / just something a little different, a little dramatic, a little just not drama garbage. It's so good.
Yeah, Sarah was after that episode. She's like, "Wow, this show is really different. Like, very, very different." They spent like if you would have pitched that episode to a modern storyteller, I don't know how they would have let you make it, but it worked. It worked great. I really enjoyed it. But that episode was so different in terms of
Well,
its
I
pacing,
can't ever,
like how many acts it was. It was so interesting.
yeah, like I can't, like watching it and the way it's written and the way the characters act and everything. Like I can't figure out what's going to happen next. Like
Mhm.
my expectations are always like I have no idea. Like I don't know what's going to happen.
On episode 4, the main bad guy, like the main plot that I thought was going to be the whole series,
Mhm.
was just. I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
I thought this was the whole plot. So what's the
No,
rest of this
yeah.
show?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close to spoilers here, so let's,
Whoa,
let's
spoiler
diverge
alert.
a bit.
Well, no, I'll tell you an episode. I'll tell you an
You're
episode 4.
literally talking about the plot points and what you expected to happen.
No,
let's just move on.
Well, let's say this. I'll say
Parker's
this.
terrible at this.
That I don't
This
want you to
does
say
this
that.
does the same.
He
this
literally
show-
doesn't get it.
This show
He keeps
does to
doing
like
it.
series. I'm not going to stop. This show
I'm just gonna take
does
my
to
headset
series
off now.
arcs what Batman, the Dark Knight did to me for movies.
Yeah.
Is I went, I didn't know a movie could have this many conclusions.
Yeah.
That's what that's what this show did. It has
Well,
this
I
many
think-
conclusions.
When they start using, I mean, they've done it before. It's just been a while since I've watched one that was written by a very smart, clever author. Like,
Mhm.
the guy who writes that is really a cool author.
Are you talking about the screenwriter or Neil Gaiman?
Neil
Is he
Gaiman?
fucking done yet?
Neil Gaiman's such a good writer. Like, listening or like reading his stuff is like watching this show. It's
Mhm.
very clever. It's very just like, oh, I never thought of life that way. Lots of things like that. It's really, really good. Also, side note, the new Jurassic Park was on the plane, and so I pulled it up and I turned it off entirely and watched Sandman instead. That's how I feel about it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Won't watch it.
sounds about right.
I don't fault you for that one.
My boys even said, and they're 10 years old, they said, we watched it and it was mostly about bugs. I have no idea what that means, but I'm fucking out. I'm like, okay.
It was a serious plot point. Yeah.
I have like 5 episodes of Sopranos left.
Oh man, you've been tearing into it, huh?
Well, I've been on season 5 for like 2 weeks now. It feels like, but I've just been really busy. So like getting home at 3 a.m. and shit like that. So it's just like I don't really have time to watch more than maybe one episode every couple days. As where I watch like a season in a sitting before. But yeah, it's been pretty good. It seems to be, I don't know. It felt like it was kind of like, you know, as like the series start wrapping up, it like starts to narrow, right? Like all the plot points come
Mhm.
together. It felt like the first half of the season it was doing the opposite. It was like everything was fraying out even more, and now it feels like they're kind of like knee jerk, get everything together at the end. And so I'm not sure how it's gonna go.
I think I got to season 2-ish. Like, would you say it's worthwhile to go through that?
So I watched because HBO Max is stupid. I watched the first 3 episodes of season 2 and thought that they were the first 3 episodes of season 1 because I was like,
Oh, Lord.
play show, and then they were like, would you like to start at the beginning? I was like, yes, and then it just starts playing, and he's in Italy, and I'm like, I'm very confused.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
he
know
hooks
who
up
any
with
of
that
these
chick,
people
yeah.
are. Yeah, and so it just started season 2 because apparently somebody had stopped watching in season 2, and so just restarted season 2. It was really
That was me because it's my
Yeah.
account.
yeah. So it was very dumb, but once I watched season 1, I was like, this makes way more sense now.
Gotcha.
Um,
Season 1's about his annoying fucking mother. Like, ugh.
Yeah. So there's definitely some like, it feels like they're really hammering the point across of like these people are unhinged and deranged, but they seem normal a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so just out of nowhere, someone flies off the handle and does absolutely a ridiculous level of violence. And you're just like, okay, that's clearly not like, I've been around like criminals and psychotic people, and like, this is not how they act, but okay. like whatever. That's fine. It's just, it feels very forced.
hmm
Um,
Season 5?
But yeah.
Or just in general?
No, just the show in general.
Okay.
Like the violence that comes out of, like, some people you see it coming and that's better, but when you're just like, this guy just randomly murders somebody for literally no reason and he doesn't even know why, I'm like, that's not how people act. Like,
hmm
maybe you're like that, like some people are like that, but they figure out who those people are real fast because they're like that, and they get thrown in prison immediately. Like, because they get caught because they just violently kill people for no reason. It's like, if you walk into a grocery store and just murder someone in aisle 3 because they looked at the crackers, like, you don't keep walking around and have a successful business. Like, that's not who you are. So,
Did you ever watch
it's just very odd.
You ever watch The Wire? Have you watched that one yet?
I have not. I've heard good things, but I
Okay.
haven't gotten around to watching it.
Number one,
I've heard it's the greatest TV show.
I will
ever from
never
people.
go to Baltimore and not feel like I'm about to get murdered because of that
Okay.
show. But it's really good anyway. Like, it's another HBO show. But yeah, check out
Yeah.
The Wire after you get done with that.
I have a bunch of other stuff to watch first, but yeah. I want to watch The Godfather next because I've
Oh,
never
you haven't seen
The
those?
Godfather. Yeah, and so I've always wanted to sit down and watch it. I
Mhm.
just never have 19 hours free, so
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really don't just turn it on and be like, whatever, let's see what happens. Like, but I can tell you that I watched Goodfellas and it was massively disappointing.
Oh, you didn't like Goodfellas?
I was so bored and
Because you're
hated the
racist. You
entire
don't like
thing.
Italians.
No, because I loved Casino. Like, Casino was great.
Oh, they're two different movies. Come on now.
Yeah, they are. But like, so I'm watching them in the wrong order, right? Like the Goodfellas was like the start
Yeah.
of the like, what's his name?
Joe Pesci
Fuck.
being a psycho.
No, the director,
Oh, Scorsese?
Scorsese. It was like the beginning of Scorsese's run in like the mob movies,
Mm-hmm.
and so clearly it's just like setting the groundwork for what the mafia was like, right? And Casino is just like the evolution of that later on.
Mhm.
And obviously, like, they have different points, but that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I also watched The Irishman, and it was
Ugh.
definitely better than Goodfellas, but it was
Oh
slow.
man. Whoa. Look, we just lost so many people. Just clicked stop on the podcast.
This is like
right
the people
now.
are like, Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie of all time. It's like, go watch it with fresh eyes. It's not that. It's good, but
Ugh.
it's not what you think it is.
Wow. Okay. All right. Hot
It's
takes.
just the nostalgia
Hot takes,
button.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's fine. I stand by it.
Any chance?
I like Empire Strikes Back. I like the other two in the series as well. I mean, the prequels were pretty boring and bad, but the new ones were fine too.
Look, I'm not going to fight you about Star Wars. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah,
The new
I
Game
like
of
Star
Thrones.
Wars a lot more.
The
when
new
I was
Game
a
of
kid.
Thrones shit is really good. Checked it out yet? Anybody?
Mm-mm.
Too cheap for HBO Max.
Yeah.
I'll say this: I am more interested in watching the new Game of Thrones than the old Game of Thrones.
Man, it's really
So
good.
like, we went from a 0.5 to a 0.75
Okay.
on my interest level.
All right. How about
I am-
the Lord of the Rings? How about the
I'm
new one?
way
of
more
those?
interested in watching that. I would have watched. I actually sat down to watch it multiple times and said, "No, I'm in the middle of watching 3 shows at once. I need to just finish one of them and then start a new one." So I'm watching Always Sunny. Oh my God, no! I'm watching Always Sunny, The Orville, Harley Quinn, and Sopranos, like, all right now.
Okay.
And so I need to fucking finish 1 or 2 of those first.
Maybe. I'm halfway through The Boys, and then season 5 of Walking Dead. That's
Ooh.
with the family.
How are you enjoying The Boys?
It's good, but not great.
Wait, go ahead again. The Boys. How did you like it?
It's good, but not great.
Yeah. So what? Okay, so where are you at with the series? Where are you at?
End of season 2, I think. Maybe beginning season 3.
Huh. All right, it might not be the show for you. Okay, it's good, not great.
It's totally fine. I'm not
Okay.
displeased watching it, but
Okay.
I'm one of those guys that it doesn't take a lot to keep me entertained watching a show or a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it has to be really bad for me to like really wish I'd had my 2 hours back.
What if I told you a tiny man is going to climb into a penis hole?
I knew this already.
Yeah.
Does that help
That's
you?
why he started watching it.
Yeah.
That was the only reason.
Well, spoiler alerts, right? Like, is this?
It's the first thing that fucking happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a plot point.
No.
Okay.
It just happens. I think everyone will admit when he said, "I want you inside me," that's not what I was expecting.
No. That was a non-pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a tiny man doing a shitload of cocaine. I don't know what exactly I expected out of that situation. Yikes. So
there's a
what
bunch of-
ensued while I was gone? What did you guys talk about? Like, what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Literally nothing. You listened to the podcast.
No, but I didn't listen to the preamble. Like,
We're not going to
feel
just
like-
talk about the
no.
pre-ramble as
I
this
understand that,
pre-ramble.
but I feel like I'm out. Like, I don't even know.
Maybe you
Just
shouldn't
sad.
disappear next time, fuckhead.
Yeah. That sounds like we literally gave you access to the audio recording of what we said, and you're like, but tell me. Just give me the cliff notes. Like, just listen to it. This is on you.
Yeah, but like, I want the cliff notes.
You're like the person that shows up at the book club
Mhm.
after not even reading the cliff notes and asking someone to explain the plot to you.
Yeah, and
What's your point?
what's your fucking point? You
I
can
act-
find
Jeremy-
someone to explain it.
I think I can actually sum up pretty much everything that happened last week.
Okay,
in,
go.
like,
Thank you.
one
I appreciate
sentence.
it. I
All right.
appreciate it. Go.
So, Jeremy, what happens when you don't pay your exorcist? You get repossessed.
I hate you so much.
Got him! Ladies and gentlemen, I got him.
It took you 2 weeks to come up with that.
No, I've been sitting on this one for... I've been sitting... This is like a classic dad
Oh.
joke, right?
Hmm.
And so I've been sitting on this one for you to get back.
Parker said I don't cuss enough.
He doesn't use his angry words like kerfluffle.
Aw.
No, I
Don't
you
worry.
don't
I'm
curse
working
enough.
on
Is
it.
that when you said something like what did you say, like Great Caesar's ghost? You just used a really like super, or it was good G's or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember what I said. It was heat of the moment.
Jumping Jehoshaphat.
I think
There's
it's
like-
important that I tell you all right now that my kid turned around and said, "What the F?" to me. Exactly like that. And didn't realize that
That
was a
counts.
bad thing. And it also counts. I was
That
like, so I can appreciate any sort of like restraint. All right. So
When I upload stuff on YouTube like these podcasts, I click the not intended for children, so we need to earn that.
yeah. God damn. I have a timer that goes off that tells me, hey, it's time to do it. And I'll drop an F-bomb here and there. It's just part of it.
Is it just while you're sleeping, or like does it only work when you're awake?
Unfortunately, it's while I'm sleeping as well.
Okay.
I'm a professional.
And you wonder why your kids say it?
Mm. True. It's only a problem when they tell their mother.
Yeah, or their teacher.
Ooh, yikes.
Jason used to get calls from the schools like, "Hey, we have a fairly serious conversation that we need to have. Can you come in?" He's like, "I'm actually busy. I can't make it in during school hours. Can we just talk about it over the phone?" They're like, "Well, your daughter used the F word in school today." He's like, "Okay, so what's the problem?" And he's like, "They can't do that." He's like, "Oh, well, just tell her that then. Tell her she can't do it." I'm like, like, he just
Exactly.
didn't know how to respond. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "She could swear at home as long as she's respectful. That's fine." Like, the
Yep.
guy did not know how
Yeah.
to handle it.
Well, it's
Yep.
because teachers do that kind of shit all the time. They tell people, they call parents and they go, "So this this thing happened," and then they just kind of leave it there, like a cat with a dead bird, just like,
Mhm.
look at this thing, and you're like, and what's the parent supposed to fucking do with that? Like, oh, you know what? from here, I guess I'll fix this thing. Like, that's not something anybody could do. If you're calling a parent, the only thing you should be telling them is how you're going to fix it, not what happened. You're
Can I
not a
tell-
reporting service.
So my favorite thing at a parent-teacher conference, you're going to appreciate this, Parker.
Hmm.
So we're talking about stuff, and they're like, math is this, and English this, and they're reading, and everything is great. And she goes, I don't think your kid likes me. And I was like,
I was unaware he was supposed to like you.
what is that even? I go, I swear to God, without hesitation, I go, I never liked a single one of my teachers. I'm not sure what you want me to do. Like, and of course, my ex, who was my wife at the time, was just like horrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, I fucking hated school every day I went. I don't know what to tell you.
Man, I absolutely hated being in school.
It's it's one of those things like what the person said was, I guess you could have responded with, so you're telling me that my son doesn't want to do things but he's still able to do them? He sounds like a very well-adjusted person. Like he doesn't like you or the place that he's doing them, but he still does them anyway. That's great skills for life. Thanks, I guess. Like, I don't like.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do with that other than be impressed with your son? Like, I don't know.
I brought him home and beat him, as you're supposed to, right? I brought him home, and I was like, I beat him, and then I asked him questions like, do you like your teacher? And he's like, I don't. And I beat him more. So
Yeah,
then he was able. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously.
I don't.
What the fuck?
That was the psychological torture in between the physical torture. like this is why you're
everybody I
getting
told
beaten,
that story
just so you
to
know.
was basically like, why did the teacher even say that to you?
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
I
really
don't
good.
know.
So on a different topic, I came up with another slogan that we can put on our t-shirts. So our first option is the gang goes to a con, because we would have the shirts at the con, which I thought would be funny. Second option is the gang sells t-shirts. What do you think?
The gang sells T-shirts on the T-shirt that we're selling for
Yeah.
the con.
It's like super meta.
That is wonderful. I vote 3 votes for that. That's what I want.
Oh, well, I vote 10 shirts against, or 10 votes against.
Oh, dang it. He outvoted me. I think absolutely the gang sell shirts is by far the best one. So
I'll be honest,
excited.
I don't like either of them.
You don't like either of them?
I would wear both of them.
Well, what's a slogan you would like? Give me an example.
Wait, I thought we were
So
I thought we were
I
selling
have
these
great
shirts.
taste.
I am afraid to give you an example now because it'll be bad right off the top of my head. But
Well, that's just because your opinions are bad.
this is a true statement. Are you sure you haven't been talking to my wife?
Well, I just know that I've come up with 2 ideas for t-shirts, and you guys have come up with 0 combined.
No, I've come up with 3 votes for your idea, though, so that's
No,
what I
but
have.
That doesn't count as your own idea.
No,
It's like,
I'm telling
my
you,
name is Parker. I
there-
also like to party. You
there
can't say
is
you like
not-
to party.
there is not an idea that could be better than your second idea.
Well, I'm not asking for a better idea. I'm asking for an idea. I
Uh,
want everyone to come up with
okay,
2 ideas, and
okay,
then we can vote.
Can we all just be fair that when Parker gets to come up with slogans and
on them.
titles,
That's actually a
that
good
it's
point.
always just
But-
hours of nonsense?
There are some times that, like, the fact that something is so bad is why it's so good. Like Nickelback. They were so popular because they were so bad at it.
I
It's
think
like they're all just rooting for the underdog, right?
I think they were highly consumable. They were like sugar for your ears, but that is not what I come up with. I come up with horse shit. So I don't think.
I didn't. We talked about this before.
This is like the episode. This is like what the very first post ramble was about. Was this? This was the topic.
So you could be self-deprecating, or you could be egotistical. Kind of depends on the sense you want to go. But like, bringing it weak since 2020. Something about MCP though.
So what is
I
the
am
leader
looking-
of this? Like, what is?
I'm looking at all of our old podcast titles, and I
Uh-huh.
can't remember the ones that you made. It was so bad.
That's not the topic right now. Let's stay. We
No, I'm
It's
looking.
it's
through-
11
I'm
o'clock.
looking for yours.
It's 11 o'clock, and Aaron is gonna. His whole thing is his whole shit is gonna
That's
shut down.
true. He's limited.
You're the reason we started late.
Wait. Who was the last one here?
Parker was doing dishes, and I have video evidence that I was actually on Discord before anyone else.
Yeah, but I
Being
know
on
I was
Discord is all that
Discord
matters.
at like noon.
Yeah.
That would actually be impressive because you would never remember.
I was on this Discord at noon.
Aaron, I bet you didn't know this. This was almost the name of our podcast. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Are you ready? PB and J.
No, it was not.
Because it was Parker, Brandon, and Jeremy. It was
No,
gonna be
it was
fucking
never
great.
even close.
It was. You weren't there for episode 0 when we were voting on these.
Jesus
so you
Christ.
almost got. You almost
guys-
lost the chance.
How about infamous MCP putting the style back in something about bullshitting MCP since 2020?
This is what? That's your shirt idea?
Yes.
I
Um,
do. Okay, I have one, and I think. I think
something.
this. Here we go.
Something.
Nope. I think I got one,
There
and this
you
is
go.
actually legit. So it's got the infamous logo on it, and it said, and it's got. I like the quotes. The gang checks the rules for him. I think that.
God no.
I
That's
think
the one
like
I
that a
wouldn't
lot.
wear.
I like
But if people don't watch or listen, then they'll
Yeah.
just be like, "But they." I don't understand. Do they do that? And then they'll
Oh.
listen. Like, why don't they ever check the forums?
Let's be fair. I should start my pitch with saying it's not as good as what you came up with. So
Okay.
What
told
did
you
you
in
come
the
up
beginning.
with? What is the leader of the pack right now, Brandon?
The gang sells T-shirts.
Okay.
That's the slogan we're going to put on the T-shirt.
No.
It is both correct and a joke.
and this is something we're selling, right? We're not. This is not our
Yeah,
like.
so we're going to get them for us, but we'll also have some extra ones to sell.
Oh wait, these are the button-up ones you want?
No, we're just going
Oh.
to do regular T-shirts first. And if the T-shirts sell, then we'll get fancy shirts. Unless you're going to buy them for us, Mr. Rich Boy.
How much does it cost?
The Pet Rock made $1 million.
Okay, so I need to clarify here. I cancel all the silence out of the podcast, so people at home won't realize that was like a solid 20-second break and no one talking. So I need to stress that. Parker just did like Jeopardy music in his head, like, damn it.
I still tell people currently try. Like that's my favorite quote of all time.
Oh, Jeremy, you just came up with one of the best ones. Open quote, can you just try?
Can you just?
Can you just try to
Question mark,
try?
end quote.
I'm fucking
Jeremy,
serious. That's
the
one of my
moment
favorite.
you turned to other Brandon, we're like, can you just fucking try, please? It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen
Dude.
in real life.
Please-
I
please
currently at
please
work
recount
tell
to me.
people that all the time.
Can we please recount to me what was the situation where that occurred?
Oh, I would love to.
Oh, it was Magneto's fucking rocket
We're
dildos.
doing the Magneto Ultimate encounter, and Jeremy is super frustrated. Like the kind of frustrated where he's like, I should just scoop my shit up and leave. But
frustrated
I'm not going
slash
to do this.
also
I'm
drunk.
not going to do it because I have a partner, a new player named Brandon, who's playing against Brandon, being a dick playing Magneto, and so I'm not going to leave him stranded. I'm gonna hold tight for my buddy, and he gets up to go get a drink, and Brandon's like, I'm gonna activate Scarlet Witch, and he's like, all right. Finally, something's gonna go our way. And Jeremy comes back from buying his soda and sits down, and he goes, "All right, so what are you gonna do with Scarlet Witch?" She's like, "Oh, she just went." And he like looks at the board, looks up at the health on Magneto, looks back at the board, and looks at like, "What did she do?" Like he's like, "Oh, I didn't do anything." And she attacked 2 constructs and did 0 damage with a cruel twist and a fucking hex bolt. And then he looks at him, and he's just like, got this like, I don't know, throws his hands up, look on his face. He's like, "Could you just fucking try, please? I need you to try." It was so bad, and it was like his first game with Brandon, and Brandon's just like he didn't give a shit.
The energy you just gave that is not Jeremy energy.
Jeremy was very mad.
I was drunk
a
and also frustrated.
I was going to say a
things
defeatist
were
Jeremy
happening.
energy is very. Can you
Oh, no, the
just
defeatist-
fucking try?
The defeat was on Brandon. Brandon already checked out of this game. He's like, I know how this goes. I've seen the comics. Like, Magneto wins. Like, there's no way.
No, and the last thing
It
I
was
want to
so
do
great.
is let Brandon win at anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, like
so I was just teleporting around yelling shockwave while I just
Yeah.
like yeeted his models off the board. And Brandon just like standing in the back holding the base.
That's
He's,
what that
not
mission
helping
could be
Jeremy
called.
at all. And
Marvel.
Jeremy's just getting furious because I'm targeting his models and
Oh.
not Brandon's models.
I'm getting entirely yeeted. That's exactly the perfect fucking word for it. Just yeet it off the board. Like,
Because he has
fucking-
like a fucking 9 dice beam 5 psychic attack in the ultimate encounter for like no reason whatsoever, and so he's just melting all of Jeremy's shit. Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah, can you just
That was
try?
a great day. Can you just fucking try, please? All right, so that's we got terrible option from Parker. We got, what was yours, Aaron? We got something since 2010. Is that what you said?
I like putting the style back into MCP bullshit since 2020. Whatever you started.
The style back in.
So here's my
MCP
2
since
cents is
2020.
what do you think the calling card for this podcast is? What?
Well, it used to be explicit as fuck, but we kind of stopped doing that.
Wolverine sucks.
Also true.
I don't accept that.
Why does Nigel think it's top 3 podcast material?
Do you want me to read what he said?
No, just in general.
Okay.
Just in, how is this podcast different than every other podcast about every other subject? Like, what is the 5-word synopsis?
It's mostly the energy we bring. Like, it's the devil may care attitude that we enter into every situation with.
I
Really?
agree.
Yeah, it's like it's like if somebody got to a building that was on fire and you're like, fuck it, and grabbed a can of gasoline and ran in, and you're like, what is happening? Like, that's like how we approach podcasting.
So it's not super structured. It's not super competitive. It's not totally lax. It's a lot of everything, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's 3 to 4 guys sitting around computers just
Yeah.
bullshitting about MCP.
It's the community, yeah. We're basically like game store chat.
Right.
Is kind of the concept.
So that's what I would want to. I'd want to hammer down on that somehow, in terms of the identity of the podcast, and translate that into the T-shirt somehow. That's
Okay.
my 2 cents. However, that makes sense.
I can see that point of view. That's a solid point of view.
but denied.
I'd like to be known as, like maybe like the BBC kind of thing. That would be better.
What?
Someone had said recently.
Wait,
something-
like the TV station BBC or the internet term
Someone-
BBC?
Someone at the during my vacation had described how they got confused with the channel. And the whole idea of the big black cock.
Of course.
Oh my god.
So
it
while
made
you
my
were
day.
in Florida, we were talking about this exact same topic last week.
Somehow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And people say we don't live in a simulation. What idiots.
No, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's a simulation of a simulation. Within a simulation.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We can chat about this more afterwards.
Perfect.
You guys ready?
Born ready.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
That's the worst.
That was the best title. What are you talking about?
No.
My favorite part is at the end of that, our little our intro, which is the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like the take of the X-Men place.
X-Men plays.
Yeah.
Which
Then
is
the
a
game
version
goes
of
all
this.
metalhead.
Yeah.
So bad at this.
Word.
I thought about like the gang commits a hate crime, but like I didn't
Oh,
know if
God,
that would be
please
taken
don't.
right. I mean, I feel like throwing a bunch of people into a camp because of their, physical being is like basically a hate crime. So,
How many blue bars do we want this episode?
-2 blue bars, so we
Okay.
can get back to level.
Get
I'm
back.
not sure if there's like a 3-strike policy with Spotify and
I
blue
don't know.
bars.
It's not really one of those depths we wish to plunge.
Yeah,
No.
let's learn about that when someone else does it. All right, so back on the t-shirt topic, did you guys come up with any more t-shirts?
I don't know.
No. I had an idea that we could change our logo to Sentinel Eyes instead of Dr. Doom Eyes. What did you think?
I'm all for it. Should we actually do that? Should maybe have different eyes in every season or something like that? That could be interesting.
I was thinking about it, but I like these eyes so much, and that would be
Mhm.
a real pain to go through and change.
don't
I don't think
don't
you
change
guys.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know if you
Jesus
guys realize
Christ.
how many places that logo
Please
is.
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 9 different websites I would have to log into, and then try and remember where all the pictures are.
Okay, that's a good idea. Keep it that way.
Mhm.
I mean, we didn't. And I was surprised we didn't get to talk about how Parker lost.
Mm,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
that's just for the post.
I'll leave that there. I'll just leave it there. Like, I'm
Can
like, mic
can I
drop.
say? I do want to say one thing before Parker recaps his game. I fucking called it. I called it so hard.
You did.
Fucking dead to rights called it.
How old's your son, Aaron?
He's 9.
9.
17.
He's like 16, 17, right?
Yeah.
17.
He's nearly a man. In
it took
fact,
17 years to do
he's
this.
he's going to turn 18 before LVO.
He's going to turn 18 before Parker qualifies.
That's definitely true. that was always true.
So he came home and he tells his mother, my wife, I'm
Uh-huh.
going to Vegas, baby, and I'm
Oh,
getting
no.
a hooker. I said,
I feel like it's so relevant he turns 18 before LVO.
that we're going to have a talk, because no, you're not.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it's going to be to keep us all from buying him a hooker?
Does-
It needs to be pretty damn easy.
I have so I have a few questions. First of all, does your son listen to the podcast?
No.
Does your wife listen to the podcast?
Would shock me.
Okay, so I understand that there's some friction that having an additional person on your air quotes vacation in a small room might cause. And so I was going to point out the fact that he could stay in our room, but that would dramatically limit your ability to ensure Jeremy does not buy him a hooker.
Ooh. My sexual frivolity versus my son's
Sexual
morality and
ability.
well-being. Let me think. I'll
feel
have to
like
get
we're
back
really
to you on that
just-
one.
You're choosing the amount of sex both of you are going to have over the weekend.
Yeah,
it's they're just locked together, unfortunately.
Not gonna lie, Brandon. When you said, "Oh, I offered him to stay with us," my first thought was, "Oh, Jesus." When something happens to him,
How many hookers are supposed
am
to
I
be in the room?
no? Well, I, as soon as I thought, I was like, "Oh shit." Am I responsible when he like fucking dies? Like when he falls out a window in Vegas and everybody's
said
like, "How
this
did
a
he fall
long
out a
time
window
ago.
in Vegas?
I'm
Well, I thought he
never
was staying with
responsible."
you." I'm gonna be
I
like,
thought he was staying with you.
I'd be like, he was.
Hey, if I could survive alone in Vegas for 3 days as an 11-year-old, surely your son will be fine.
He'll be fine.
Can I make a non sequitur? So, we're traveling to Gen Con. My Syracuse folks are traveling to Gen Con. 12-hour journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
We realize that we have a 13-year-old in the van that the parents decided could come along with us, and we realized halfway there that we were responsible for a 13-year-old. we were like,
legally,
what
legally,
the
the parents
fuck?
are still responsible. I've lied to watch some true crime. It's definitely still on the parents for letting the kid go.
okay, good, because we freaked the fuck out halfway
Yeah.
through.
Now, if they can prove liability, that's a problem. You need to make sure there's zero liability.
Oh my god. Anywho, yeah, definitely. Like you're gonna.
You need to
watch
do
out.
things like leave the room and say, under no circumstances are you to leave before I return, and then just like don't lock the door.
Your dad says that you're not allowed to touch this hooker
Yeah.
who's right there that I bought from
Yeah, I have been
I'll talk
told
to you
that
later.
you understand that this is not accepted, illegal, or permitted. Goodbye.
Yeah. The
Actually,
prize
I have a
for-
question.
for beating
Aaron,
Parker is Chanel, and she's right over there.
I actually have a question for you, Aaron. What would you guys go to cons together, right? So what would Perrin be doing, like when we're there? Like, because presumably, Jeremy, Brandon and I are going to be like out. We're going to be drinking. We're going to be hanging out. We may hang out with the folks who play games and stuff. But Perrin has never like hung out with us even at tournaments, right? I don't even know
Well,
what he does when you
I've
guys
hung
go to
out with
cons.
Perrin at tournaments and stuff, but like you
Okay.
guys weren't there. It's
Okay.
usually me and Aaron making fun of Perrin while we eat food or drinks. Like,
Right, but it's going to be a lot
yeah.
more people than just Perrin there. So my guess is, Aaron,
Yeah.
what was your vision for what Perrin's doing? What is Perrin excited to do when he's not playing games? Is I guess my question.
So, a lot of thought in a little bit of time, but we will probably try to make this more of a Vegas vacation as opposed to a con experience.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So we'd probably do the whole, play until, whenever we get up until 6 p.m. and then catch a show.
Go see
on
some
Friday
Penn and Teller.
and Sunday.
I
Oh,
would
fuck
actually
no.
really like to go see Penn and Teller. I like Penn and Teller.
Dude, if you look
It'll
up
be-
tickets, dude, I'm in. I would go
It'll be
do that.
Cirque for us, I'm sure.
Naked Circus?
No,
They
Cirque.
have that there.
Cirque du Soleil. They got a lot of naked shit, but yeah. No. That's when we come back. We drop them off at the hotel. Then my wife and I go
The naked
to
Circus.
the after hours shit. Gets her all hot and
what's the
bothered.
weekend? It's like January 26th.
Yeah.
26th through the 30th, yeah.
A lot of the performances do not have their shows booked through 2023 yet.
Yeah, so Penn and Teller are in Portland, Oregon the week of the 27th.
Wah, wah.
Horse shit.
Balls.
All right, so we're just going to have to do the lesbian twins.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
They're identical in every way, if you didn't know. They're just trying to go to college. Trying to help.
Hey, my wife and I have a rule. She doesn't get to know, and she can do whatever she wants.
I was going to say
Here's
that works
your whole-
both that works
Here's
both
your
ways.
whole pass.
Say what?
It's like, why do I get a whole pass? You're like, no reason.
Hey, different things work for different people.
I can do whatever I want, huh? She's like, I'll see you at 2 a.m. Wait a second. Hold on.
All right. So we should probably. You already got a hotel, right, Aaron?
Yeah, I might change the dates, but I have it for now.
Do we have a hotel yet? I don't think we do.
Mm-mm.
I hear
I'm
they have a
not
shortage of
involved.
hotels in Las Vegas.
I don't think there's a shortage of hotels in the place that you're going. I think
the Rio
that's
still
gonna be just
has
fine.
availability for the weekend.
Yeah.
And that's where the actual event is, correct?
Yes, if you log in through the Frontline Gaming website, the LBO, it will have a discount link to the Rio that is still active.
Okay.
It's like
Question: if we don't stay at the Rio, can we keep our armies in your room?
Yeah.
Nice.
Why are we not staying at the hotel? Wait,
Well,
what?
because we could just stay like one hotel over and walk over in the morning, maybe, and it might. I don't know.
Ugh.
No.
It's not that bad if you're not carrying your stuff.
Ugh.
So the Rio is off the strip by about
yes.
20 minutes.
Oh,
walking.
I did not know that.
It's walking, like a
20-minute
mile.
walk.
It's
Yeah,
a
the
mile
Rio is
walk
not
to
close.
The strip.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. So
We-
that's and it sounds like the discount code anyway. So
No, it's a good deal. It's not bad at all.
okay.
Mine was $626 for 4 nights.
So Parker, you gonna be at the shop tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, I assume.
Uh-huh.
So we'll probably chat about it tomorrow then.
I won't chat about it.
All right. Well, I'll probably talk at you about it, and you'll choose to not listen.
Already not listening.
Are you watching wrestling?
Nah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I don't have anything else unless you guys want to just keep chatting. But it's
we
getting pretty
never-
late for you guys.
Yeah, it is late, but we never did say what happened in my game. We just mentioned it.
Oh,
Do we
I didn't
want-
think anybody cared.
I
do
don't
you wanna
think-
go over it real
I
quick?
honestly could never talk about it again and be okay with it.
I plan on bringing it up every podcast from here forward. I don't know
The
what
best
you wanna
part
call it.
about this is it's actually very well documented what happened in that game.
Yeah.
And if anybody's wondering,
hmm
you can go to a website called YouTube. And if you go
You
to our
of the
cha-
tube.
Yeah. You go to Infamous MCP, and it is Battle Report number 141, Midwest Melee Round 4, Parker versus Perrin. This is pretty well documented.
Mhm.
You can see Parker just have the soul ripped from his body over the course of an hour and 12 minutes.
I felt exhausted by the end of it. It was very exhausting. However, I was never like, put my teeth or my fingernails, as has been the case before.
It is not the most frustrated I've ever
No.
seen you, but it
No.
is one of the most sad times I've ever seen you.
Yeah, I was
Because when
very sad.
you're frustrated, you're angry. You
Yeah.
were sad.
Yeah, I was quite sad. It was just like watching me play. I felt like a really strong game. Perrin did exactly the same thing, but both of us played a really strong game, and his dice just Wonder Womaned everything I tried, and it was really hard to overcome that. I would have been more mad if my dice had crapped out, but they didn't actually. It was just his dice on defense were so hot. So it was.
All
Jeremy,
I
what do you
know
usually say
is
when
when
a
I-
player blames their results on dice? What is that?
It's called a Brandon.
Oh, it's a Brandon. Okay, well,
Yeah,
Parker's doing
it's specifically called a Brandon.
Yeah.
When I pulled up after this tournament had happened, and I did
Mhm.
not attend.
that. You,
Uh,
yeah, you flew
I
back from
knew.
Florida just in time to walk in
I
the door as we were
saw-
putting terrain away.
I saw Parker walking across the parking lot, and from, I'm guessing, 150 miles from a satellite, I could tell Parker had not won his game. His shoulders were dropped that far.
Mm.
So my only question was, why? And he told me immediately, but
Yeah.
I could tell. Yeah, he
Mhm.
was wearing it.
Yeah.
And then I heard it was Perrin. And all I can do, like, I find myself just sitting there, thinking about work, and then all of a sudden I'll just start to laugh. And it's because I think, oh yeah, Perrin won. It just makes me chuckle.
I was actually kind of worried because I was like, okay, well, if Ryan loses his game, it's going to be a 3-round tournament with Parker and Perrin in the finals. And then as I was watching Ryan's game and he was nuclear exploding Nigel's models off the
Oh,
board,
God.
he smashed a size 4 building with Dormammu and then Omega beamed like everybody in range and killed them all. It was so brutal. I walked over on turn 3 and all of my Nigel's models were injured. I was like, oh God, like this is bad. But yeah, so I started realizing, I was like, oh man, what if Parker and Perrin knock each other out and then play Ryan in the finals? That'd be really interesting. And then Ryan got Parker got the pair down and had to play Aaron in round 3. And so Aaron had to play the 2 people on final table.
Mm.
He had to play his son and Parker. It was great.
That's one more
And so
for it.
yeah, Parker won the pair down, and then Perrin beat Ryan, and then Parker and Perrin played in the finals. And probably the least eventful game of the entire tournament.
Yeah, it was such a. I mean, if you guys watch this YouTube, you can hold down that cursor button and let a lot of time just roll by
Yeah.
when nothing much happens, as we both tried to ineffectually do things to each other.
Well, I
It
mean,
still only
it
took
was
an-
won by like a 7-5, turn 6 or some shit. Like,
It was like 13-11. It was pretty boring.
But it only
Anyway.
took an hour 12 minutes apparently.
That's true. It was just pretty quick for a tournament game. Actually, it is the second longest game of the weekend, according to my notes.
Was I the shortest?
Probably no, you were not.
Fucking
Preston and Bobby were the quickest game. Where Preston was it Preston? Who played Kingpin? No, it was Brandon from Springfield. We had all 3 Brandons in the store at once, by the way. That was crazy. So Brandon from Springfield won his game, in which on turn 2, Kingpin attacked Steve Rogers, dazed him, and picked up all 3 hammers that he dropped, and then advanced away. And I was like, what?
Oh
Like,
my
how
God.
did this happen? I was like, it was the most ridiculous game state I've ever seen. And then they were like,
chaos
yep,
is-
it's over. And the next turn, Kingpin activates and double walks away again into the corner with all 4 hammers. Oh, I didn't mention, Kingpin already had 1 hammer. So
wow.
he had all 4 hammers on top of 2.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Some people just play a little too thematically. Like, I
Yeah,
got 3
know,
hammers.
right?
What should I do? I don't know. Are you Black Cat? No. I'm Steve. Oh, then charge.
Kingpin
'Cause that's
is over
all
here
Steve does.
hungry hippoing hammers down his gullet and like just running away like Zoidberg. Like, it was the fucking weirdest game ever.
That's
That
so
was the
weird.
quickest game of the weekend. I think it was a 12-minute game. It was insane. They called it in like the middle of round 3.
Hey, buddy, I brought you all these hammers. You want them?
It was so crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the plus side, if you do tune in and watch Parker's Sad Fest, even though it's not an entertaining game, you'll get to see the absolutely beautiful new game mats we have made by Muse on Minis. And they're great. They have the pre-marked deployment zones and objectives, and they're that awesome cityscape that they made for us before that all of our videos are mostly on. And so they're new updated versions of that, which are great, and we'll have more of them in the store soon. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have for today.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hosting a tournament and you don't have pre-marked mats, shame on you.
Shame.
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 All right.
Shame.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.